Hey guys, John here, Metal Detectors South Africa, coming to you from a bright and sunny Somerset West, Cape Town, my hometown. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to fit the Detectors carbon fiber shafts to the Equinox series range of metal detectors. As you know, the Equinox range of detectors is Minelab's flagship range. It offers multi-frequency, it is waterproof down to 3 meters, wireless audio, rechargeable, firmware updatable, and the list goes on. Excellent machine. There is one little issue though. Some of them have what we call shaft wobble, or a little bit of play in the lower shaft. This is especially exaggerated when using it in the water. So being a multi-frequency machine, very popular with the beach detectorists who like to go knee deep into the water, swinging the coil backwards and forwards, that water resistance on the lower shaft tends to create a little bit of wobble. So the smart guys at Detectors came out with a really nifty solution. They've got a lower shaft made out of 100% carbon fiber. They've got an upper shaft, also 100% carbon fiber, and they've also, as an extra, they've got an aluminium cuff. Being carbon fiber, the shafts are extremely rigid. There's no more wobble, there's no more play. The lower shaft is actually up to 35% lighter than the original, and the upper shaft up to 50% lighter. So the carbon fiber solution is rigid, it's a lot more lighter, and it also collapses shorter by up to 17 centimeters. What I really like is this Clam buckle. It's a quick release buckle. You basically unclip, extend or collapse as you need, clip it back into place, and it does not move. It's extremely strong, extremely easy, and extremely quick to use. Very, very convenient. Another really neat feature is this water drainage hole at the bottom. This allows you to rinse off the machine. Any water will run out the shaft, won't be trapped inside the shaft, which is often the case with the original. And any sand, if you've been using it in the water, being a multi-frequency machine, does tend to be used on the beach a lot and in the water. Rinse it off, all the muck, all the grime, all the water escapes out of this bottom hole. They've also improved on the section where you attach the coil to the shaft. This little yoke section where you've got that play backwards and forwards can often cause wear, and we have had reports of the coil ears breaking off. When paired together with the Coil Savers by Detectors, it eliminates any of that wear, makes it a lot more stronger, and you've got peace of mind. So definitely consider getting, if you're buying the shaft, consider getting the Coil Savers as well. Taking a look now at the aluminium cuff. This is an optional extra. It works on any detector, not just the Equinox range of detectors, any detector that's got a 22mm shaft. That's most detectors out there. It's easy to fit, you don't need to drill any holes. It clamps onto the shaft, around the shaft. It's also really comfortable. It hugs your arm nicely. It's got a nice tight fit, a wide arm strap, and then we've got a nice little base at the bottom. So when you place your detector down, it's not going to roll over, it's nice and sturdy. Right guys, let's show you how to fit this. Okay guys, so installing the shaft is quite straightforward. You don't need any tools apart from the Allen key that actually comes with the carbon shaft. So when you receive your carbon shafts, if you ordered the lower stem only, you'd receive the lower stem, and if you ordered the lower stem with the upper shaft, it would come like this, and you'd have your Allen key here, and that's the only tool that you need for this entire process. What we have over here is the aluminium arm cuff, which we will also be installing at the end of the day. Again, no tools needed apart from those that are supplied. Everything comes with it. Then we also have the Coil Savers, and these Coil Savers will fit to the coil. We'll replace the old ones, and that will protect the yoke and give it longer, or eliminate wear and allow it to last a little longer. Okay, we're going to start by removing the remote control off of the shaft. Let's take the coil cable off first, and you can use the key which comes supplied with the carbon shafts. So here's the Allen key. Guys, there's no washers or anything like that. You've got 4 little screws, and you're basically going to pop the Allen key there and take them off. Okay, so those screws came out pretty easily. Again, you only needed the Allen key that came supplied, and if you have a look, you'll see the electronics are inside. Electronics inside there, and there are no special grommets or anything like that. So you might want to just blow it out Don't fiddle too much in there. Put a little blow, get any dust and things out of there. Okay, now we're going to remove the coil. I've still got sand coming out of mine. We've removed the coil. And we can now do away with the lower shaft. We don't even need the washers because we're going to use the optional coil savers, which you can order as an optional extra. We're going to fit those. Right guys, so with the coil removed, this, by the way, this green sleeve that you see here, this is called a Snakeskinz. This is just something really nice, makes your detector stand out, and it also protects the coil. Next step is to fit the controller to the carbon fiber shaft. Okay, so you'll notice we have got 3 holes. This top hole is where you would put the original plastic arm cuff. In this case, we're not going to worry about that hole because we're going to be replacing it with the arm cuff with the aluminium arm cuff. And then you've got 2 holes at the bottom here, and this is where you can actually adjust the height or the length of where the controller is going to sit. So in my case, I'm quite a tall guy, I've got longish arms, so I will opt to go for the lower hole, just make it a little bit more comfortable for me. So that's also pretty neat. Let's fit the controller. Again, straightforward. You want to make sure that you have the screen pointing upwards towards yourself. Don't put it on the wrong way around. And you've got this lower section, plastic section here. Again, when we took it apart, I mentioned you got the slope that's pointing towards the coil end, and that goes at the bottom. And you'll see in this little plastic housing in the middle there, you've got a little nipple, and that will go inside that hole and keep it in place. So slope pointing downwards towards the coil, and I'm going to position this in the lower hole because I'm slightly taller, and it just slots in nicely there. And we put the controller on, and straightforward, as easy as that. We're going to put these screws back in. Don't over tighten them, but don't be scared to tighten it. You'll know when it's seated properly. Don't go into gorilla mode and over tighten. It's not necessary. What I do is I start one and I go diagonally across, and then I start the other one and go diagonally across. Okay guys, first part done. We have fitted the remote control to the upper carbon shaft. That is quite straightforward. Went in nicely, nice and secure, watertight. Right guys, so moving over to the quick release buckle and the lower shaft, you've got this little red lever. If you flip it open, it releases the tension and the grip of this plastic ring around the shaft, allowing you to remove it backwards and forwards. And once you've pulled it out to your ideal height, basically pull it back over and it's locked in place. It's not going anywhere, it's nice and tight. This has got a little tension screw on the other reverse end, and once you've opened it up, you can see this is loose, this can move around. You can adjust the tension tighter or looser, and from time to time taking it apart, it might become a little bit loose. It won't become loose during use, but removing it backwards, onwards, it might flip over. You want to just get it nice, thumb tight, just a little bit of resistance there, and that should be good to go. You don't want to make it over tight because then you won't be able to flip this back over. So you'll see it's got like a little sweet spot nicely in place. Really neat feature, makes it nice and easy to extend in and out, collapse it, remove it, off you go. And what we're going to do now is fit the coil saver washers onto the end of the lower shaft. So just having a look at these coil savers, there's 8 in a pack. You've got 4 black ones, which are thin, and then you've got 4 red ones, which are the thicker ones. So you'll mix and match thick with thin, or thick or thin, depending on your coil and how tight you want your coil in there. So obviously the thicker washers will be tighter, thinner washers will be less tight. Okay, so when you fit the washers, you don't put one inside each side, you'll actually pair them together. So you can put 2 black or a black and a red, a thick and a thin, depending on how tight you want it. Okay, so nice and snug. And if I put that, that feels good. That feels, on my specific coil, 2 black ones will do the trick. That little drainage hole needs to be facing downwards. Your coil's facing forward. You're going to slot that in with the drainage hole at the bottom. Right, so now we can go ahead and insert the coil bolt. So when tightening, don't over tighten. You want to just get it nice, just a little bit of tension, and you want to be able to get some easy movement, but your coil mustn't flop around. Okay, so we're pretty much done. All that's left for us to do is to insert the coil, the lower shaft into the upper shaft, and clamp that in place, and then you're going to thread your coil cable around. When you thread your coil cable around, remember you're going to bring the coil over the top of the shaft. Don't coil it from the bottom downwards. You want to coil it from the top. Depending on how tall or how long and how extended your shaft is going to be, will determine the length or how many coils you put into place. That should be about good. You'll see there's a little cutout, and that needs to line up with the cutout at the top there. And tighten it. Again, this is going to just thumb tighten it. Do not over tighten it. Do not use a tool to tighten this. Just thumb tighten it, finger tighten it enough, and that's fine. All right, so now we have the upper shaft, lower shaft fitted, coil fitted, and all that would be left for you to do now is to fit the collar or the cuff. In this case, we're going to be fitting the detected aluminium cuff. If you were to fit the original cuff, pretty straightforward. You got a little hole there, bolted in place. Just the way you took it off is the same way you're going to put it back on. But we're going to get stuck in and fit the detected aluminium cuff. Okay guys, the detected aluminium arm cuff comes in this little box. So you've got nice instructions, got some foam padding which will go inside the cuff around your arm just to keep it nice and comfortable. And we have the upper cuff. This is pretty neatly packaged. I love this foam with all these neat cutouts. This oozes quality. In terms of the tools, we have a little spanner, cute little spanner that comes with it, pretty neat, and there is a smaller Allen key. So and then at the bottom here we have the arm strap, Velcro arm strap. I missed these 4 screws at the bottom here, don't forget about them. So at the bottom there are 4 screws. All the tools you need come with it. Let's get this on, let's see how we do it. Here you've got your upper cuff and the lower cuff, and how that fits, that over there. This is going to fit around the top, and these are going to clamp them in place. So let's show you how we do that. All right, so having unpacked all the components from the box, we've got the stand, we've got the arm cuff, stand and arm cuff. We've got the little clamps which are going to go around the shaft. So little clamps go around the shaft, and we've got the 4 nuts and bolts, spanner, Allen key, arm strap, padding which is going to go inside there, keep your arm nice and comfy, and the installation instructions. Assembling the cuff, you do it separate from the shaft. Once it's assembled, you'll slide it onto the shaft. Okay, so upper cuff, lower stand, these little clamps go at the bottom, and we're going to drop the screw from the top downwards. Those 2 screws in place. You can slide the top half, slide the lower half, and there we go. And now what you want to do is put the lower shaft in place. Now, important, do not tighten these bolts yet. Just finger tighten them, because once we've slid it onto the shaft, we will then tighten it in place. So you just want to tighten it enough so that the top of that screw is just pointing out. And that should be good. Okay, first set in place. I'm going to do the second set. Okay, so that's loosely in place. You'll see the top of these screws, we've got a place for the Allen key, and then you've got your little spanner at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten these, not tighten them, but I'm just going to tighten them enough so that the screw just pops through the top of these bolts. If you tighten it at this point, you're not going to be able to slide it over the shaft. Okay, so far so good. We've got that in place. Looks good. And now we're going to slide it over the shaft. So you can see that's already a tight fit. If you made it over tightened, you won't be able to slide that over, which is why we don't tighten it off the bat. Okay, so you can adjust this according to your height, where you like to see it comfortable on your forearm. You'll see that hole there, that's where the original cuff was, the center of the original cuff, and I'm going to just place it there. At this point, you want to make sure that when you've put the coil down, you've got that little coil over there, you're going to keep that level, you want to keep that level, and you're going to want to align, you want to have everything square, so you're going to keep the controller vertical. You'll line that up. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this clamp back on. There we go, and I'm going to tighten these now. Okay, so we're just tightening this so that it is semi-permanent, and then we can adjust it according to how high we want it on our arms. And again, I'm doing this starting with this bolt, then doing opposite. Start with that one and then do opposite. Okay. Right, so now that we've got that in place, we can test it on our arm to see how comfy it is. So if I put that, so I want this collar to come further back. Right, so with it semi-tightened, I'm going to position the cuff for now at that point, and going to give that a test. See how comfy that is. Okay, you're going to want to do this standing up, but for purposes of this video, I think that feels good. No, it needs to be a little bit upper for me. All right, that's good. And what I'm doing now is I'm just lining, so I'm happy with that height. I'm going to just line this top of the Minelab sign. I'm just going to eye it in place. Make sure it's nice and vertical and center. It looks good. And now we can do the final tightening. There we go, nice and tight. Nicely lined up. It's looking nice and square. Feeling comfortable. Last but not least, we're going to fit this nylon strap, and then we are good to go. Obviously, you can also put the foam in place. I don't worry about the foam, but it's double-sided tape. Basically, just stick it in there, makes it nice and comfortable. I personally don't use it. Okay, guys. So with this strap, pretty straightforward to install. You've got a smooth section over there, and you've got a section here with a little lip. That lip is what prevents the strap from slipping through. So you want to feed the flat end through first. There we go, that's nicely in place. And slot your arm through. As easy as that. Right, guys, we are done. That wasn't too hard, was it? Shaft installed, giving it a swing. There is absolutely no play. It is solid, it is rock solid. Even if you go into the water, I'm confident there's going to be absolutely no play. It is brilliant. I love it, and it's so light. Very, very neat. And it looks good. I've got the red belly which we fitted here. Looks nice and neat. Complements the Equinox really, really well. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope you found the video useful, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up, like the video. If you want to see more of the same, please consider subscribing. We appreciate the support. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, drop a comment. I will answer them myself. Thanks guys. Happy hunting.